He's Israel's longest-serving prime minister, surpassing the country's founding father, David Ben-Gurion. Benjamin Netanyahu, commonly known as Bibi, is a political survivor who's built his career on the promise to keep Israel safe and an uncompromising approach to its neighbors. Born in Tel Aviv, Netanyahu grew up in a conservative Zionist home. He joined Israel's special forces and led commando missions. His older brother, Yoni, led a 1976 operation in Uganda to free passengers, many of them Israeli, from a hijacked plane. The hostages were rescued, but Yoni was killed. It left its mark. In the mid-80s, he was the face of Israel in America, serving as the country's ambassador to the United Nations. By the time the Gulf War broke out in 1991, he'd become a media personality. Back home, Netanyahu began to rise in right-wing Israeli politics, railing against any deal with the Palestinians, including the 1993 Oslo Peace Accords, led by then-Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. In 1996, shortly after a Jewish extremist assassinated Rabin, Netanyahu won the election, becoming Israel's youngest prime minister. Though to this day he faces criticism that he incited violence against his predecessor through the use of dangerous imagery, a charge he has always denied.
To these madmen, you'll not have your way. You'll never succeed in severing our commitment to each other and our commitment to democracy and the Jewish state.
As premier, he signed 2 agreements with the Palestinians, building on those signed by his predecessor, while at the same time increasing the construction of settlements considered illegal under international law. But his term as prime minister was short-lived, losing the election in 1999. His domestic record since returning to power 10 years later has been one of economic success, overseeing Israel's emergence as a hub of technological innovation. As Prime Minister, facing rocket attacks from Gaza, he has fought 2 wars against Hamas. The blockade of 2 million Gazans remains in the name of security, and peace talks have become a thing of the past. Netanyahu says he doesn't see a Palestinian partner.
President Abbas, stop walking around this issue. Recognize the Jewish state and make peace with us.
Palestinians say he doesn't have a genuine interest.
Time is running out. The window of peace is narrowing. Opportunities are diminishing.
Further afield, Netanyahu has always played on his foreign policy credentials, consistently railing against Iran, which put him at odds with the Obama administration.
We must all stand together to stop Iran's march of conquest, subjugation, and terror.
But allowed him to claim victory when President Trump nixed Obama's nuclear deal. Perceived shared enemy has also seen Netanyahu make common cause with a number of senior Arab officials from the Gulf, whom he has met both openly and in secret. And he's always been quick to show off his closeness with other world leaders. But it's his relationship with President Trump that matters most, securing US recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital, the embassy move, and recognition of Israel's sovereignty over the occupied Golan Heights. But there's a legal shadow over him too. Netanyahu faces possible indictment on bribery and breach of trust charges in what are ongoing corruption investigations. All charges that he has denied, but charges that threaten to completely reshape his legacy. Even so, after a total of 13 years leading Israel, there is no denying that Benjamin Netanyahu has done more to shape this small country than anyone else in recent times.
Mr. Lewandowski, your behavior in this hearing room has been completely unacceptable, and it is part of a pattern by a White House desperate for the American people not to hear the truth. I have been asked several times today whether the committee will hold you in contempt. That is certainly under consideration. But there is a far more troubling level of contempt on display here today, and that is President Trump's role in your refusal to answer questions. The pattern of obstruction laid out in the Mueller report has not stopped. You showed the American public in real time that the Trump administration will do anything and everything in its power to obstruct the work of the Congress. The president's lawyers are sitting behind you right now to make sure that you do not answer us. Well, this committee is focused on the evidence of potential corruption, obstruction, and abuse of power, and exposing that misconduct is our top priority. Make no mistake, we will hold President Trump accountable.
On a parliamentary inquiry.
The gentleman will state his parliamentary inquiry.
Mr. Chairman, did you have that little speech prepared before this hearing went downhill?
It is not a proper parliamentary inquiry, and the answer is no.
One thing I won't do is roll over. One thing I won't do is capitulate.
California's Governor Gavin Newsom clutching tighter the unofficial mantle as the leader of the Trump resistance.
We are nothing less than a progressive answer to a transgressive president.
This week, the president is fundraising in his backyard, enemy territory for the Trump agenda.
Look, stay out of our way. Let California continue not to survive, but thrive, despite the headwinds, despite everything you're doing to try to put sand in the gears of our success.
California is involved in nearly 60 lawsuits against the Trump White House, jamming the proverbial crowbar in Trump's agenda, from immigration to climate change regulations. Newsom wields California's $3 trillion economy with heft. It's a potentially risky play, with Newsom's progressive agenda on the line. A booming state economy with an exploding homeless crisis.
Look at Los Angeles with the tents and the horrible, horrible, disgusting conditions.
Ahead of Trump's West Coast swing, the White House floated a plan to deregulate housing to increase supply. A clear dig at California.
So he's got to find the areas where we're not performing. And that's the issue of poverty, affordability, and homelessness, and exploit those as a way of tearing down a new governing philosophy.
If you look at some of the barbs you both have shared on Twitter.
There's a few.
There's a few. There's a good bit.
And it's offline, too.
How about this clown in California?
Newsom responded by tweet, saying Trump is literally locking up kids like Pennywise, the scary clown from the movie It.
Do you relish that fight?
No, but if he calls me a clown, I called him Pennywise, forgive me. Interestingly, we communicate, not in public, on the phone, in person. And he's very gracious in those calls, and I hope in turn I am as well.